Touchdown Tampa Bay. You're listening to the Pewtercast.
Welcome to the Pewtercast. This is our Buc'In the News show for week numero dos. Game number 2 coming up. Buccaneers versus the Carolina Panthers.
The Panthers.
The Panthers.
The Panthers from across the pond.
The Carolina Panthers from just north of us. My name is Brent Allen. I'll be your host tonight. Ren Dax, my co-host. Joining me as always, Ren.
Yes.
Welcome back to the show, buddy.
Thank you very much. Second one this year. We're starting to fall into our little schedule here, and feeling good.
Get all the kinks worked out.
Yeah, sure.
There we go.
We're like a hose. Like one of those new fabric hoses that never kinks.
You mean the ones that like you put water in them, they stretch out really long, and then you take it away, and they get like.
I have one. It works great. Never kinks.
Never kinks up.
Never kinks up.
I think I've owned like 3 of them. They always bust open for me.
Really?
They do.
You're just rough on your things.
That might be true. Hey, listen, Ren.
Yo.
Buc'In the News. This year, broadcasting this live, joining our live broadcast more than just the Pewtercast live show, the post-game show that we do.
Right.
We are now just broadcasting this out. Not taking phone calls on these shows tonight, no. We just thought we'd honestly. Let's just put it out because this is a one-take show for us. We don't edit this one and put it together, right?
Yeah.
So with that, I want to say hello to everybody who's joining us tonight. We are out on Twitter or Periscope. We're out on YouTube. We're out on Facebook. We're also out on our own website, thepewtercast.live. You guys make sure you go over there, check us out. You can do things over there like send us messages. You can leave us voicemails, all of which we may use on a future episode of the Pewtercast. You also can check out all the multiple ways that you can download our show and download the audio feeds and even come back and check out the podcast. So tons of fun stuff going on over there. Ren, we've got a
really
special
slick
guest.
too.
Do what now?
It's really slick. It's very clean. I
It
like
is.
it a lot.
It
I like
is.
it a lot.
I am digging this website. I really am. So you guys
Joe Bucks fan could learn something from that.
Oh, hello. Zing.
Well, I mean, if you like retro, it's no offense. I actually talked to Isbits about that one time, and he's like, no, not doing it. He's like, not spending the money. I'm like, we still make money. It's fine. No problem.
You know what? I as a business owner, I understand that. I really do. I get that. Ren, we've got a guest, but before we bring him on, real quick, a word from our sponsor this week. You guys have heard us talking about him before, mybookie.com, mybookie.ag. Doubling your first deposit when you use the promo code OVERTIME. You can do prop bets, bonus bets, cross-sport wagers. I've got my first bets going in this week, Red, and I'm excited. You got any advice for me?
Take the Panthers and the points? No, I don't know. Take the over.
Take the over.
What is the over under? I don't know.
I haven't looked yet.
Don't lose.
That'll be helpful.
There you go.
That'll be helpful. I'll just get Gray's Sports Almanac and see if I can't figure it out.
Sure.
But listen, you guys can go to that. You can even bet live in game. I'm going to check this out this weekend. I'm actually really kind of excited for it. The season starts for us this weekend. So if this is your thing, guys, out there, you're like me, maybe you're new, or maybe you're not like me and you've been doing this for a very, very long time, but you've never really done it with MyBookie. Head over there, promo code OVERTIME. They'll double that first deposit. And for Overtime Media listeners only, Pewtercast listeners, we're kicking up this whole thing with another added bonus. Take a screenshot of that deposit screen over at mybookie.ag. Email it to us at overtime@advertisecast. That's advertisecast.com. You'll be entered to win $500 cash straight back to you. Turn $100 into $700 real quick.
That's the way to do it.
That's it.
That's
All
the
right.
way to do it.
That out of the way. Ren, we've got a special
I'm
guest.
very excited to see how you do.
Are you?
Oh, yeah.
Yeah?
Yeah. I think
There you
because
go.
if you do well, I think you're going to get really cocky. And then I'm just
you
going to
think
wait.
so?
I'm just going to wait until like it comes crumbling down.
It's going to be me in fantasy. I go out
And
the
then
first
I'll
year,
be
win
there,
fantasy,
Bender.
and
I'll
then-
be there.
Yeah, you will. Something about Ren and I, just so you guys know the way our friendship works, we revel in seeing each other fail at other things sometimes.
Yeah, that's how best friends are.
There you go. There
Yeah,
you
like
go.
when you fall down and get hurt, it's hilarious.
Ren, are we best friends?
Did I say that?
That's what you just said.
Did I?
You said
Oh.
that's how best friends work.
I don't know. I'm gonna have to
Is
check
that how
the
that
tape.
works?
I don't know. I mean, I'm not your best friend.
You're not my best friend.
Yeah, you have better friends than me.
I have friends who have been my friends longer. But Ren, I will say this.
Yes.
Outside of my wife,
Uh-huh.
you are the single individual that I spend the most time with.
That's not even a friend. That's
That is,
It could
that
be
is
your-
a friend. Regardless of that,
I
I'm
say that about
glad-
my boss at work. Like,
No, I am glad to count you as a friend. And Ren, I am glad to count our guest this week also as a friend. He's been a guy who's been around. I can't even say as long as we've been because he's been doing this a lot longer. From the Buck What You Heard podcast, Mr. Gene Thomas. Gene, welcome to the Pewtercast, man. Glad to get you on the show this week.
Hey guys, thanks for having me on. This is a real pleasure to be on here with you guys. You guys do a great job.
Gene, how long has your show been going on?
It's
been a while.
2013, I believe.
Wow.
are you the godfather of YouTube?
No, actually, you had him on. You've already had him on here.
No, that's the
with-
Godfather of Bucks podcasting. You are the
Yeah.
Godfather of Bucks YouTube. Gene has been doing the YouTube live streams probably since YouTube was founded, but when it was still
No.
YouTube.
Back when it was just called Me Too.
When it was MeTube.
Yeah.
Me
That doesn't.
too.
Yeah,
I like
that did not exist. But anyway, but you've been doing it like you said, like 7 years.
Yeah.
And why don't you walk, like, I know you don't really talk about a lot on your show. Why don't you sort of walk everyone through how, like, it started out with a North and South podcast, didn't it?
Yep, it started out with North and South, and we just kind of I did this contest on a Facebook group, and I was like, I hate this name. Let's come up with a better name. And so we kind of went around, and I came up with something like Buck That or something like that. And I was like, I like how that kind of play on words, but I don't want to step on what the buck.
Right.
And I came up with Buck What You Heard, and just kind of stuck. So from that point, it just kind of took off. I like doing this because I enjoy the listeners. There's a lot of the people that listen to me, Frank G out in the chat, Mr. Hewitt, and some of the other guys that, they go around and listen to a lot of the podcasts, but everybody needs a voice. And I feel like Tampa Bay sports radio has kind of failed a lot of listeners, and really they don't have a platform to get out what they want to say. And I think that's what makes podcasts so important. And that's why there are so many of them, because there are different niches, and you find the group that you want to look at and you want to follow and listen to. And I think that's what makes it great. But I think you guys have really, crashed through that glass ceiling, getting in there and actually getting some sort of relationship with the Tampa Bay Buccaneers. And I think that's important because you guys lead by example. And I think that at some point it'll be where more opportunities will be given out there just to do this. I think this is the direction that sports media is going.
I agree. I wholeheartedly agree. I think it is moving from the realms of the elite to and it's opening up, and there's more and more avenues for people to be able to talk, and that just means there's more people out there talking, and so there's just the distinguishing natures of what happens out there. And I think it's also important for people to recognize where they are and where they're not, right? And to embrace that. And but Gene, I mean, man, 2013, man, you have stuck this out for a very long time.
Yeah, I've given up in my head a few times.
You know what? After 5 years of doing the show ourselves, I can't speak for Red, but I know for me, there's been a few times where I've just gone, holy hell, what's going on? Yeah. But you know what? It's a brand new year, Gene.
That's right.
A brand new year, buddy. Well, hey, listen, thank you for joining us this week. We're going to jump into it real quick. I want to say hello to everyone out there who is watching, joining us. The chat room is blowing up right now. You guys are awesome. You guys keep having that conversation. We'll check in over there from time to time. Buck in the News, guys, this is how this works. If anybody is new to this show, here's how Buck in the News works. This is our show where basically the work week is done for the Tampa Bay Buccaneers. There's nothing left for them to do but to play the game. All the injury reports are out. Practices are over. Press conferences are done. And so this is a spot where we get to sit back and we get to take a look at what has happened with our beloved Buccaneers this week. And we're going to talk about it all together because, as soon as you talk about something that happened on Tuesday, it changes by Friday, So here we get to at least get the whole news cycle as it works. So we'll do this we'll talk about the roster moves that have happened around the team. We'll talk about some of the headlines that have happened. We'll take a look at the injury report, especially as it concerns the Carolina game coming up. And then we will also take a look at sort of some matchups maybe we want to watch. And we get our homage to the godfather of Buccaneers podcasting, Buck What You Heard. We'll do predictive MVPs. That being said, guys, why don't we go ahead and start at the very top of the list? We'll go to roster moves. There was only one this week. And there was no corresponding move that went with it, at least not that I could find. So if you guys know something, please let me know. Anthony Auclair was placed on the short-term IR with a calf injury. It is listed as a minor injury, which means they'll be able to bring him back in 3 weeks.
Mm-hmm.
That's it.
The end. Thank you very much.
Right. But yeah, so
this one hurt me personally because I've gone out and talked about how it's a make it break it year for O.J. Howard. I've said things like Anthony Auclair has better hands than O.J. Howard. And that even last year, I think I said Anthony Auclair would get like 4 touchdowns. And of course, a lot of times I'm a year early on things like this. Like, remember way back in the day, I said, by the end of this year, everyone will want Donovan Smith out of town. And there was a few grumblings, but then the year after that was the Donovan Smith year, and has continued forward through that. So I'm very sad to see Anthony Auclair injured. But like you said, he's eligible to come back to week 5. So, and, the tight end room is one of the, if not the strongest or deepest rooms, for the Buccaneers. You're really not even going to miss him that much. He wasn't on the field that much.
And if I can jump in here real quick, the good thing, if there is a silver lining here, is that his injury occurred at the beginning of the season, and his services will definitely be needed towards the middle and end of the season. So he will definitely see time at some point throughout the season, and you may get your 4 touchdowns.
And don't forget, O.J. Howard has yet to complete a full season with the Tampa Bay Buccaneers. He's ended every season injured.
And Gronk looks like he's collecting Social Security.
Hey, we should talk about that because Gronk, we were all excited to have Gronk on the team.
I was a little indifferent. I'm sorry.
Okay, no, that's cool. No, a lot of people were very, very glad to see Gronk come on the team. He looked very pedestrian this past week. No?
Go ahead, Gene.
Oh, I don't know. I saw that hit. He laid a hit on a cornerback or something like that, and set him down. And he had to go out a couple of plays, but that was about it. Yeah, he didn't really do a whole lot. Again with COVID, I know a lot of people say that's an excuse, but here's a guy that's been retired. He comes out of retirement, and this is his first game. No camp, no nothing. He just comes out there, and it's his first game. I think that he'll slowly work himself, into football shape, and be ready to go. So I'm not. This game to me, the Saints is a measuring stick on where the Bucs are as a team, and how they stacked up to them just coming out the gate. So we see the things that they need to work on, and they see the things they need to work on. So there's that.
And it's possible we might see even less of Gronk if he's having to line up next to Donovan Smith every play and basically play left tackle part 2.
Gronk's here to block and to get O.J. Howard's head straight. O.J. Howard's gonna get the most receptions, the most TDs, the most yards, and whatever you get from Gronk's gonna be gravy.
There you go. He's icing. And I think I've seen that. Gronk is very much like the luxury of the team right now. It's not needed. It's just the icing on the cake that they got in. So, we'll see. Not really much. This is more just stating this for the record because it's out there. I don't know that there's much discussion. Ren, you and I discovered there's really not a lot of discussion to be had on this. However, this year the team is allowed to protect people that are on the practice squad. They're protecting 3 people that they protected last week. The kicker, Greg Joseph, Mazzy Wilkins, and Cyril Grayson. Those last 2, by the way, were moved up to the 55-man roster, although neither one of them saw any snaps in the game last week. And then instead of Josh Rosen, Chappie Russell. Chapel Russell is the new protected guy there this week. So just for the record, that's there. Ren, I'll give it to you before we go on. Do you got anything to say about that? Because we, I don't know if there's much to say.
Yeah, I was going to be really excited to sort of dissect why they do these things. I think we need a few more weeks, especially when about also bringing guys up, because like you said, like they brought up Grayson and who was the other one?
Wilkins, Mazzy Wilkins.
Wilkins. They brought him up,
and Grayson was inactive because Mike went active, and Wilkins dressed but didn't see any snaps.
Right, but you can only bring him up twice without a penalty. So
without having to do like the whole cut and re-sign them
and put them through the waivers. Exactly.
Yeah.
So you only got that twice. It'd be interesting to see after this week if those two guys are not only protected but are brought up again, and they just keep pushing them back through waivers. Because if you're protecting them, then why are you gonna put them through waivers every week? So that'll be an interesting part. I'm glad to see Chappie Russell. At least they think enough of him, and it just might be an injury thing. Like they look around, like they got guys that do this. You look around the NFL, who got injured? Okay, Dallas just lost a linebacker, an inside linebacker. Like 3 inside linebackers went down. We want Chappie Russell here. We'll protect him this week. Let them find their guys, sign a guy, bring up a guy. Once they filled out the roster, maybe next week Chappie Russell's not protected. But it's good to see that when we've heard about Josh Rosen saying, I'm going to stay here no matter what. Like if somebody offers me a contract, I'm staying here. That sort of worked itself out, and you don't have to be like, okay, well, sure, Josh, that's what you said, but we're going to protect you anyway.
Right. The only thing that I could say as far as this goes, and this will actually be the first headline we talk about, so this will be a good transition piece. Chris Godwin has gone into the concussion protocol this week on Wednesday after showing no signs Sunday, Monday, and Tuesday. Started showing signs of a concussion. They put him in there. Some reports say that he could be out a bunch of weeks. Some reports say not. He is listed as doubtful on the injury report. Last week when Mike Evans was listed as doubtful and then moved up to questionable, they brought up Cyril Grayson. With Chris Godwin being out, it's conceivable they might go ahead and bring Cyril Grayson up this week again anyway, just sort of as an insurance policy. And if they do, that'll be it for him for the season without him having to go through the waiver process again.
Right.
So with that, let's talk about the Chris Godwin concussion. Gene, I'll throw it to you. What'd you do when you heard Chris Godwin concussed?
I used a bunch of swear words about DJ Swearinger. So Swearinger, swear words. It's all the same. I was there. That shouldn't have happened. And I understand they tried to say it was a bang bang play. I went back and looked at it, and I don't know. He's notorious for doing this. I tried to see if I can find how many fines this guy has gotten, but he's playing in the wrong era. And I wasn't happy about it. Just piling that onto what the Buccaneers went through in that game anyway just really upset me. So glad it's behind us and we've moved on to the Panthers, and that's about all I can really say about it.
Yeah, I guess the scary part is he didn't show symptoms till Wednesday, and that's sort of like a ticker or a flag that this might last longer than possible. Then be able to be back in a week. But BA said today that Chris is still in concussion protocol, but every day since he's been on, he's passed the next test. Now, yeah, so he was actually out there with a helmet on, catching passes on the sideline, not participating in any drills. So that's sort of like the next step. I remember when we started going through this stuff, when we'd ask, I don't remember who it was, but we kept asking Cutter, oh, he's in concussion protocol, I can't talk about him until he's out of it. Like when he's here, he's here. So I went and looked up what that exactly means. And for people listening, basically, I don't know if it's a year-to-year thing, but I think it should be, is like they put them on like a stationary bike or a treadmill, and they run them through these exercises, and whatever they get, that's their base. Then if they show signs of a concussion, which I don't know what they are, but the first thing you have to do is hit those base numbers. And then you can start to walk out on the field and put your helmet on. And then you have to basically, I don't know if you have to hit the base numbers again, or you have to, the light sensitivity has to go down. But the way they judge a player to be able to move on from step one is to physically hit their base test scores that they did sometime in the past.
All right.
Wow.
So
I
Chris
just
Godwin-
was educated. Thank you so much for that.
There you go. There you go. So we'll see what happens with Chris Godwin, and just wish him a speedy recovery because we want him out on the field. You guys know what I mean?
Yep.
All right. Let's go to the big story of the week. Well, what I think is the big story of the week. No. I want to back up.
All right.
Let's go to the most laughable story of the week.
Okay, there we
The
go.
one that has been annoying me for the last 6 days.
Is it what Cam Jordan said?
No, it is not
Okay.
what Cam Jordan said. For my thoughts on that, see our last episode with Derek. But I'm going to encapsulate it in this one story, but this has received so much more attention than it should.
Right.
On Get Up NFL, Mike Greenberg plays a clip of BA talking about Tom Brady, criticizing Tom Brady. Really not even that bad of a criticism. Just you all saw it. We saw it. He made a couple, whatever, criticizing him. And then people asked him in the press conference the next day, hey, do you feel bad for criticizing Tom Brady? And BA's like, no, we're fine. There's nothing to talk about. The clip cuts and Greenberg goes, well, I think there is something to talk about. So we're going to bring on Jenna Lane, our Bucks correspondent down there for ESPN. And Jenna Lane gets on and she does a great job for herself. But basically, here's what she said. Nuh-uh, there's really nothing to talk about at all. Nothing. Done. This whole BA criticizing the GOAT, BA criticizing Tom Brady. Emmanuel Acho's talked about it. Bucky Brooks has talked about it. I mean, just everybody on the
Brett
national
Favre,
media.
Kurt Warner.
Oh my God, yeah. Everybody, he criticized Tom Brady. The coach had something bad to say about a guy who didn't play his best game ever. And I have no problems with BA saying that. I have a problem with the fact that this is a news story this week. And it's the most talked about thing on the national landscape for the Tampa Bay Buccaneers. What the buck?
There you go. Listen, guys, I don't know about you. I don't watch ESPN. I stopped watching ESPN about 4 years ago. I only watch it if there's a game on and I can't watch it anywhere else. I stick more to local sports talk and podcasts. They read off of a cue card. They try to invent these stories like what you're talking about here. It's like TMZ. I mean,
Right.
so for me, when I see it on Twitter. I don't actually go and take time to watch ESPN or whatever those clowns are talking about, or some of your other pundits that get on together and get all up in a lather about something stupid, and I just don't do it. So when I hear about it, it's believable that they would come up with something like that. I just kind of brush it off, man. And it's about winning and losing for me this year, and it's about the Bucks getting to the playoffs. A lot of this stuff, it's interesting to talk about sometimes, but like this right here, I'm not a huge Mike Greenberg fan to begin with. So, he's looking for something that, you get clicks, you get ratings and that kind of thing. And he brought it back up again. Like you said, it is a story that shouldn't have been a story.
Yeah.
Yeah, I got a couple things to say. And first, I'd like to say, kudos to Jenna. I was really worried there for a minute that she was just going to regurgitate the company line, because it was very obvious during the press conferences, all during training camp, that ESPN was telling her what they wanted for her to report on, because she asked about Tom Brady to every single person twice for 3 weeks. It didn't matter if it was a tight end coach. It didn't matter if it was, a inside linebacker. It didn't matter if it was a special teams coach. What's it like? It was the same question. What's it like playing with Tom Brady? Is it easier playing? Tom Brady really and it was so frustrating because, obviously I knew the question was coming, but, I figured out this is what she's been told from the mothership to do. So I really liked it that, she sort of stood her ground there and, just didn't fall in line with Greeny and be like, yeah, I can't believe he did that. Bruce Arians is going to lose the locker room. Blah, blah, blah. So it was great by that. Another thing is the people in Boston are freaking out about this. Brent, I know you listen to Sports Day Tampa Bay with Rick Stroud. It's one of the podcasts that I listen to religiously, and he has a great story. I think it's Thursday, so 2 days ago when we're recording this, about how they asked him to bring him on a Boston radio show, like the Boston radio station, and that was the whole thing was about how, like, you know, how they couldn't believe that Bruce Arians was actually doing this to Tommy. Like, you don't do that to Tommy. So Boston people got really upset about it. And third, like, this is what you heard from BA, like, about Jameis after, you know, it got painfully obvious that he couldn't keep covering for him. Like, he covered him for the first half of the year. You know, receiver ran the route, running back went too deep, you know, the tackle like set up too far. Like, it was all types of stuff until it was to the point where it's like I'm like, I can't cover for this guy anymore. It's like, yes, that was his fault. And no one cared. It's like, it shows you how much these national pundits, like, don't watch, you know, sort of like the bottom third of the NFL or care about it, because BA blasted Jameis the last 4 games of the year nonstop, and not a word was said. And you do it one time to Brady, where, you know, it was pretty obvious that, you know, that out pass was thrown about 5 yards too far in, and, you know, you got Boston all in a huff and everyone going around. But you know, people warned me that you were going to get stories like, oh my God, Brady walked on the practice field and buttoned the left side of his helmet first instead of his right. Like, what's going on? And I'm like, what? I'm like, no, that's not going to happen. But I guess it is.
Yeah, man, you're spot on, Ren. That I feel exactly the same way.
Yeah,
that's why they call me Spot on Ren.
Yeah, Spot on Ren. That's your middle name, right?
Ren Spot on Ren? No, Ren Spot on Ren Dax. I like it.
So moving
Find
from
me on Twitter.
There you go. So moving from the story that shouldn't have been a story over to the story that wasn't but really should have been. Donovan Smith is the big story this week to me. I don't know about you guys, but this is what needed to be talked about, and it needs to be talked about nonstop all week long until he comes out and gets his head out of his ass and does what he needs to do. And, you know, BA comes out, even he says, look, he had a rough week, had a poor game. Now, BA comes out and blasts Donovan Smith. Did anybody say a word about that? Nope. Of course,
he didn't play tackle. He didn't play tackle for the Patriots.
Right. Exactly. He doesn't have 6 rings on his finger. But still, here's my question. This is what I've been thinking about a lot this week. In regards to Donovan Smith. We heard for a long time, Ren, you've quoted it quite often. The coaches all talk about how Donovan Smith has all this potential to be the best left tackle in the league, or one of the best left tackle in the league. He has all the tools. He has the physicality. He has all of these things. Here's my problem. He's in his 6th year in the league. Potential doesn't matter anymore. Potential is out the window. We should not be talking about your potential at your 6th year in the league. We should be talking about what you have done. We're talking about what you are doing. Donovan Smith is in the prime of his career right now. This is it, when he is in the prime of his career. And that's what he's putting out on the field. And that's what he's showing us. Are you kidding me? And here's the thing that Greg Allman has covered, several other people have covered, and we covered to some extent on this show, Ren. And Gene, I'm sorry, I don't know if you did on yours or not. There's not shit we can do about it right now, because there's nobody to replace him. None.
Donovan Smith is in the right place at the right time. When he signed his extension, he was in the right place at the right time. There was nobody out there. And I've heard fans were like, why are you paying him all this money? Who are you going to replace him with? Right then and there. I mean, what are you going to go to Labor Ready and say, hey, give me one of your left tackles and have him show up at $1? No, this guy is who he is.
Go to Labor Ready.
he is who he is. Seriously, he is who he is. And when you look at what he could do, what his potential was, you mentioned that word. I hate that word when it comes to the Tampa Bay Buccaneers because they never reach it or whatever. But he never. Again, this is the guy that you're going to pay this money to because there was nobody else, and you couldn't bring anybody else in there that you would 100% trust. So they went with that, and then kind of here we are again. I think you kind of have to address it in the draft if he doesn't show anything. But again, you're going to overpay for him if you keep him around anyway. So I don't see him being here next year.
Really?
Yeah, seriously.
I think he has a bounce back game. Now I have no excuse for what he saw, what I saw for that game. But BA did say today after I'm very disappointed in Donovan Smith's play when he said on the Monday presser, but he said he's working his butt off and he thinks he's going to get better. Well, you can't really get any worse. And
Right.
maybe potentially that was the game that kind of Donovan Smith needed. The guy that was probably going to go up against him most was a rookie out of Penn State against the Panthers. He's out, so we'll see if they decide to switch Brian Burns over there and go up against Donovan Smith or a backup to a rookie. It's going to be kind of interesting what they do, but I have to believe. I don't have to, but I do believe that Warhop was part of the problems of Donovan Smith's, lack of development.
But aren't we past that now, though?
Well, we all agreed that last year was his best year, right?
Right.
Okay.
Yeah, I'll agree
So
with that.
it's only one game. Yes, it's a terrible. He couldn't have got worse. Especially against the competition he was playing, and he's the guy that everyone's looking to keep Tom Brady out of a coffin. And he failed. So I get it, but I'm still holding off, judgment. But again, I said it on the Pewtercast Live, the post game show, like tackle comes into the conversation in the first round now for next year's draft. We all know that Donovan Smith's contract is not guaranteed next year, so they can cut him with no dead cap money. But I expect that he's going to respond some way, because even as bad as he's been, and it's the same thing, he punches too early, he doesn't move his feet against speed and gets lazy, and all that, his clock is terrible, all that's true, but it was never that bad. And I think from what we had last year, I think he's building on it. And again, if I guess you got to kind of agree with Gene, if it's not, then there's no way they can pay him like another $12 million to put that out there. So big game
Is
for
he
him.
injured? Is he?
Not
Could
possible.
be. Could
Not-
be.
I mean, he is on the injury report this week for a knee problem. He was limited earlier in the week, but he was full participation by Friday. So, I don't think that's an excuse. It just, I don't know. Our friend Mark Cook's like, he is who he is, or he is who we
Yeah.
think he is.
Yeah.
And this is going to be a year for Donovan Smith, like last year was for Jameis. Like, Donovan Smith's going to be the guy all year long, right?
Yeah.
Right.
He's going to be it.
Yeah,
So
whether
he
you like
has
it or not.
15 more games. Because here's the question. How many more times how many games does Donovan Smith get in the rest of this year, the next 15 games, that looked like what he just put on the field in week 1 before he is not here next year? Is it one more game and he's out? Do we give him 2 before he's out?
It's got to be 2 more in a row.
It's got to be 2. That's what I'm
in a
looking
row,
at.
though. It's
gotta be in a row.
Caveat in a row.
Because if it's not-
He's got to
because-
respond this game.
He does have to, exactly. He has to respond in this game. But if it start happening in a row, because even though that game was terrible and we had such high expectations, he had such a great camp. He's working really hard. But that's Donovan Smith.
Right.
It's shocking because it was against second, third and fourth string guys. But that's Donovan Smith, and if he does that 3 games a year, that's what it's going to be, because that's what it's always been. So I think he has to have a game as bad as he did against New Orleans, and then do it against the Panthers, and then do it next week against Denver, and then something's got to be done.
Yeah.
Well, we'll see. We'll see. And I did bring up Mark Cook, our friend from over at Pewter Report. He actually had an article out about this week earlier. I think it was his signature piece of the week.
The hook.
The hook. That was what this whole thing was about. So you guys go over there, check out his article. And like I said, I know there was a handful of others, but to me, this needed to be the big topic that people were really talking about. Because even in the locker room app, which Gina, are you a part of that at all? The whole locker room thing that's starting up and going around.
No, I'm not.
You haven't. Ren,
not
I know
cool
you
enough.
know what that is.
I
I was in like 3 or 4 of the rooms this week, and they were all talking about BA criticizing Tom Brady, not he has a left tackle that was a swinging door and couldn't stop a breeze.
I got
So-
one coming up tomorrow.
Yeah.
If the Bucks are contenders or pretenders.
There you go. There you go. So,
Nice.
and if anybody wants to know, there's this app. I don't know if it's been released to the general public yet.
Not
It's been
quite
in
yet.
beta that Ren and I have been in.
Yeah,
that
not quite
like
yet.
sports people get in and talk, and it's kind of like a podcast, but not a podcast. And you can just jump in like at a moment's notice. Anyway, as that comes out, we'll let you guys know about all that. Let's move on. Let's go to the feel-good story of the week, guys. In the feel-good story of the week, the Buccaneers announced winners of their inaugural Girls in Football Scholarship Program. For those of you who don't know what this is, it is a $5,000 scholarship for girls who played high school football. I'm assuming that was flag football, or I guess
Yeah.
if they actually played real football, because
No,
there was
it's-
wasn't there like a girl quarterback that graduated this year, like played with the guys as a quarterback.
I don't know, but
It
no,
was like this year, or last year, or something like that.
no. Hillsborough County is a big girls high school flag football team, and the
Is it?
Bucks
Okay.
host like national championship tournaments like in their indoor practice facility. Like they're neck deep in this stuff, which is good.
Right. So that being said, the Buccaneers stepped up. They created a new scholarship, and they put like $250,000 or something to create the scholarship fund. But they chose 4 winners. Those winners, just a congratulations to them: Jade Rayburn, Janae Scott. I hope I said your name right. Lorraine Angelikos and Tatiana Maker. Those 4 were decided. But here's the fun, feel-good part of it.
Sure.
When they announced it, they called these girls like over Zoom or something like that. And they actually had Buccaneers players telling them that. And I don't know who matched up with who, but
wow.
the 4 Bucks players were Mike Evans, Shaq Barrett, O.J. Howard, and Levante David. So
That
I'm not
is
sure
awesome.
who told who, but that's how they did that. So that's just a cool story from the Buccaneers. I think this was a Darcy Glazer. I'm sorry, I don't know the rest of her name. But it was Darcy Glazer. It was one of her things. And just more stuff about, people say what they want as Glazers are the owners of the Tampa Bay Buccaneers. They've been great in the community, and this is just another way
Yes.
where they're doing that. So, hey, you know who else was great in the community before they left? Never mind, I'm not going there. All right. I got one more headline, and unless you guys have anything else, we'll move on. One more headline. This is my personal feel-good story of the week. I don't know how you guys are going to feel about this. I don't know if you know the term Schadenfreude. This is it right here. By the
No,
way, I should preface this
explain.
by saying I never celebrate people getting hurt. All right? There's a piece of me that might make an exception for this one.
Yeah, I do it all the time.
I know, but that's just me. Saints player Michael Thomas, who we just played this last week, is going to be out for the next couple of weeks, or presumably out for the next couple of weeks with a high ankle sprain. You don't bounce back from high ankle sprains very quickly. He's going to be out despite what they're saying. He received it in the Bucs game when they were trying to run up the score,
Yep.
right? That's what gets me. They were trying to run up the score, and he gets injured, and now he's going to be out a couple of games. So...
And they didn't get the touchdown either.
And they didn't get the touchdown either. That's right.
No.
That's right. So, anyway, just a little bit of happiness at the expense of others for me. And Michael Thomas getting hurt.
A little karma there for Sean Payton pulling a
There
pitch
you go.
pass there with less than 5 minutes and up by 11 points. And
I cannot grasp why they even ran that play, other than wanting to stick it to the Bucks. That's
what
the
it
only
was.
thing.
Yeah.
yeah, that's all.
Is
it
he
was.
still mad about that knee injury from whenever it was that he was sidelined when he got hurt on the sidelines or something? Is he still?
Who? Michael Thomas?
No,
Peyton?
Oh, Sean Payton?
Sean
I
Payton.
don't know.
Jeez, Louise. I mean,
But
yeah.
I will say this, and this has nothing to do, and we try not to go back too far. Mike Thomas's Twitter handle is Can't Guard Mike, and Carlton Davis kept him to like 17 yards on like 3 receptions or something like that. I
Yep.
tweeted Carlton Davis like, perhaps you should change your Twitter handle to Can Guard Mike. Just saying.
Did he
That'd be
respond?
hilarious. That would be hilarious. Anyway, all right, guys, moving on. Let's take a look at the injury report as we turn our attention towards the Carolina Panthers game this weekend. We'll start over with the Panthers. They had a couple of people on their injury report, but they were all full participation really the whole week. However, there are 3 notable names. Guard, Dennis Daly. Defensive end, Yetur Gross-Matos. I'm not saying that right. And defensive tackle, K'Wan Short. All are out for this game.
And they're all starters.
That's what I was going to say. All are starters. So that's big news for the Tampa Bay Buccaneers heading into this game.
Yeah. The Panthers have had interior offensive line, center, left tackle, right tackle problems. It looks like they had their best line they've had in a while, but that's not really saying much. Their offensive line got Cam Newton killed. What was that guy, Brian Allen, whoever played us against in London, he kept getting strip sacked all the time. So having one of their starters go down on the interior, I think it's going to mean a lot more than it did against the Saints. So looking for like Will Golston or Villavea or Dominican Sue to have some clean penetrations and tackles for losses there. Yetur Gross-Matos, like the whole defensive front had a terrible game against the Raiders. They didn't get a sack. Not only did they get a sack, they didn't get a pressure, like not a recorded pressure. So I'm not familiar with the guy who's backing him up, but if I'm not sure if Matt Rules thinks maybe the guy behind him is actually better. But it's one of these things where we're totally revamping the defense and we're playing the young guys to get experience. And if we get blown out, we get blown out, but we're going to learn together. So I'm not really sure how that goes, how that's going to work out for the Buccaneers. But, having a starter out, so, always good, I guess. And then the only defensive lineman that has any experience and their run stuffer and has been underrated for years, KK, Gene called him earlier, he's out. And so they got gashed last week by the Raiders on the ground, 130 yards total. And now, 2 of their top starting defensive linemen are out. So this could be, again, a get-well day for the offensive line and Donovan Smith and Rojo and Fournette.
Start Rojo in fantasy is what you're saying.
Yes, that's exactly what I'm saying.
Yeah. Let me ask you guys this. Gene, I'll put this one to you first.
Okay.
Given what you saw out of Donovan Smith this past week, whatever he may give you this week, knowing that we got Tristan Wirfs, the rookie, on the right side, also taking into account what we saw out of him, where are you putting your best edge rusher if you're the Panthers? Over on Wirfs or over on Donovan?
Good question.
I would still, Wirfs is a rookie. But he didn't really look like a rookie. I saw a few things that he did, but again, that's coachable. I would test Donovan Smith. That has been the all along throughout his career, he's been inconsistent. I would at least try it. That's where I would start with, is putting your best edge rusher against him, just because what we've seen from him on film this week.
Yeah, I was on a Panthers podcast earlier this week, and what they were saying was, Gross-Matos and Burns, all they showed in the game was speed. So they kept, trying to meet at the point where the quarterback was, but if you just take one step forward, they're not there, and it doesn't seem that they had anything in their toolbox. So I think an easy way forward, no matter where they put Brian Burns, is just let him run up the field like good teams used to do with Gerald McCoy. Oh, you want to penetrate? Okay, I'll let you run 8 yards in the backfield, and we'll run right where you were. Right. And that's what I expect the Buccaneers to do. We're Brian Burns. You want to, shoot out of the box like you're a greyhound up the track. Go ahead, and we'll run right where you used to be, or throw a screen pass. You get the ball out on the edge, right where you should be holding off the edge. So, the more you look at it, if the Bucs had more games under their belt and you as fans at least saw a game where there wasn't these sort of dumb mistakes on the offense, miscommunications, like you're really kind of looking at a blowout because they're so young and their secondary is so bad.
Right.
They're going to have a real hard time, keeping the Bucs offense down, and then with the defense, they're going to have a hard time scoring. So it's one of those games that I remember being a Bucs fan. Like, can we win this game? Yes. But in my heart of hearts, it's like, but everything has to go perfectly. And it doesn't.
Yeah. And going back and watching that Panthers-Raiders game, there were a lot of missed tackles and a lot of poor angles. Matt Rule has built this team for speed. I mean, that's the main thing that he looks for when he's bringing these players in. And he wants them, as you mentioned earlier, Ren, he wants everybody to play as a team collectively. And, everybody buys into this system. And what I've seen from them is they were there. There were plays to be made, but, again, poor tackling, poor angles, and, they paid for it in the end. So it's going to be a learning process for them in this game. And Tampa should do everything they can to take advantage of that.
Yep. All right. I like it. Well, let's talk about the Tampa Bay Buccaneers. We already talked about earlier today, Anthony Auclair is going to be out for this game. He is the only one listed as out. Chris Godwin is only listed as doubtful, and he did not participate Wednesday, did not participate Thursday, was limited in his participation, and Ren detailed that out for us earlier in the show. Outside of that, we have several others that are listed on the report. Everyone was either full participation or did not participate with a non-football injury related. Those people are Mike Evans, JPP, Donovan Smith, Jordan Whitehead, and Ndamukong Suh. Basically, all those guys are going to go. They're all going to start in their respective positions. And that's a fairly healthy team for the Tampa Bay Buccaneers right now, going in against a relatively banged up Carolina Panthers team for week number 2. Guys, let me ask you this. Gene, I'll start with you. Looking at this game, what are some of the matchups that you're looking forward to watching in this particular game, Tampa Bay Buccaneers versus Carolina Panthers?
I'm really interested to see how this Panthers secondary does against the core, the wide receiver core, and Scotty Miller, and we do know Mike Evans is going to go. When you have players like Rasul Douglas and Jeremy Chin, the safety for the Panthers, they were real bright spots in the game. I mean, if you could say there were bright spots in that game, I think they did very well, right. And they're really catching up to the speed of the game. So looking at that Panthers secondary, which I've heard nothing but slander from Panthers fans about, this team, but I think that they've got something.
Wait. You mean they're slandering their own team, or they're slandering?
Yeah,
us?
They're slandering their team bad.
Gotcha.
They're basically saying, we may get 2 wins, but I think you have talent on this team, but they're young. This is a very, very young secondary. I think, when you look at what they're putting together, and new head coach, new system, and they really didn't get a chance to put everything together. I mean, I think they will come together, and they're going to give people problems as the season progresses. But for me, I've got my eye on the Panthers secondary versus the Bucs receivers. If you can even say that.
Ren?
Right. Yeah, I'm excited to see. Well, here's what I'll be looking for. I don't think the Panthers, with 2 guys out on their starting defensive line, will be able to get enough pressure to make Tom Brady uncomfortable. So that means they're going to have to bring their linebackers. And I'm looking for what the Bucs do to counter that. Is O.J. Howard going to have a big game across the middle of the field? If Chris Godwin can't go, Justin Watson's going to play the slot. Is he going to have a big game? Or are they going to or is Tom Brady just so comfortable with Scotty Miller they'll start dragging? Because you did see some crossing routes from Scotty Miller even in the Saints game. So look for the Buccaneers to attack the middle of the field, because it's going to be wide open, because the Panthers are going to have no choice but to bring their linebackers to get any pressure. So that's what I'll be looking for.
Is that now you're saying that despite the fact the Buccaneers did such a good job attacking the middle of the field against the Saints?
They didn't do too bad when they threw it there. I remember watching the game.
Okay, I think I'm more thinking of volume, because they really didn't seem to go to the middle of the field at all.
Right, exactly. But it was such the game flow was so weird. It was so weird. It felt like everyone was very anxious, and it was just weird. There was no sort of, anytime the Bucs got in any sort of a rhythm whatsoever, they went down and scored. Mm-hmm. And then everything else looked like they were 11 guys who just got off the bus. And then, and they all knew, we've all studied the playbook. Okay, let's go. And right. Then, and it's like people are in the wrong spot. The ball's in the wrong spot. Somebody's missing a block. And then all of a sudden they come back out 2 series later, and it's a score. And it's like, okay, so I think communication's a big thing. And I, you alluded to, I was shocked that they didn't throw to the middle of the field more. And it seemed to be sort of like in desperation time, late in the game when they started to do that. They hit OJ Howard a couple times, Scotty Miller on a couple crosses. They tried to get the ball to Gronk one time down the seam. But yeah, I think it's just going to be, the Buccaneers going to be able to do whatever they want. If Tom Brady's on target, which he was and probably will be, they got no one can stop Mike Evans. And they got no one in the middle of the field that's going to be able to stop Gronk or Howard or even Cameron Brate. And with their porous defensive line, the only thing that's going to keep the Bucs from scoring 30 points is because they're just going to try to establish the run. Like, we're going to do this. We want to be a balanced team, and we're going to run the ball more than we pass because they can't score on us, and this is what we want to do.
I think I'm looking for, and this should probably come as no surprise to anybody who's been listening for the last, 50 minutes or so, Donovan Smith against whomever he's going against. Because I don't care who's going against. I'm watching Donovan Smith this game.
Yeah.
It's a big thing. Yeah. It's the biggest question mark to me on this team. So, and I've already detailed all that, so I won't dive into all that. The other matchup I'm really looking forward to watching is Christian McCaffrey against the defense. A lot of people in the chat room are saying he's going to go against Levante and Devin. They'll shadow him all game long. If you guys remember last year, this Buccaneers defense, which is largely the same this year, shut down almost every major running back in the league, including Christian McCaffrey. They just did it against Alvin Kamara last week, and I really, really want to see if they're going to continue that, if they're going to do it against whom I think is probably the best running back in the league, at least arguably for sure. But I think he might actually be the best one in the league today. And I'm excited to watch that matchup and hopefully just watch them shut him down the entire game. So
yeah, it's really interesting. I think they held him to like under 40 yards in both games.
Yeah.
And I mean, that was a feat within itself, just, based on what he's capable of doing.
Right. Yeah, I don't think he got 200 combined yards in both games, like both games combined. So at some point, we're just going to have to just start accepting that this is going to be the norm. But as Bucs fans, we're like, okay, well, just one more time. Here comes another really good. You never know, because we've bought in so many times, and we've fallen for it so many times. But now
PTSD.
But now we're like 17 games in a row. It's like the only time one guy got over 100 yards last year was because they broke this huge run. I don't remember if it was Carson, or I don't remember if it was.
Was it Henry? Was it Derrick Henry?
I know those are the two guys that got a long run, but I think Henry's got called back. So I think it was Carson's that Devin White tracked him down, and it wouldn't have counted because he would have turned the ball over if it didn't. He spiked the ball so hard, like it hit the AstroTurf and bounced up into the third row. So. It's definitely the outlier would be having, a back get like 120 yards combined or run for 100 yards is definitely the outlier. So, yeah, that's the guys on TV. That's what we're going to talk about. They're going to go CMC against these two linebackers. That's the matchup to watch. And, the only play that Christian McCaffrey got better of was in London when Devin White went too high. Christian McCaffrey put his foot in the ground. He spun off and then went on the end zone. Besides that, they've had his number, and they've had everybody's number for 17 games now. It's like, It's just time to start sort of peacocking and planting a flag on this. Is like, you don't run against this team, period.
There you go. All right, guys. Well, as we turn the corner and wrap up this show, those of you in the chat room, you guys want to drop some of these in as well. We'll maybe try to read them out. Predictive MVP going into this week. Who do you think is going to be the guy coming out for the Tampa Bay Buccaneers week number 2 going against the Carolina Panthers? Gene, you got your guy? You ready to go?
Winfield Jr. I'm thinking he's getting 2 picks this game.
2?
Wow.
Yeah.
Teddy Two Gloves is going to throw 2 picks.
Yeah, that's my hot take.
Yeah, that's real hot. We talked about it earlier, Brent. You said that's the guy to start in fantasy. I think the Buccaneers are going to do whatever they can to make Rojo have a good game, and they're going to throw him the ball, and they're gonna give him the ball and feed him early and often. And I think the Panthers defense is going to reward them by giving up yards to him. So I think Rojo is going to be the guy that. This is the game where everyone goes, I told you so. I told you so. I told you so. I think this is the game for Ronald Jones.
I love both of those picks, but I think I have to go with what I consider to be the most obvious pick and probably will be the most obvious pick all season long. And for me this week, I'm thinking Tom Brady. And my thought process is this. Didn't have the best week last week. Tom Brady, he kind of has that Tiger Woods air in him. Like Tiger Woods is leading the Masters. He goes in and has like a one bad putt on the 16th green, and he's up at 4 o'clock the next morning working on his putting before the next round. You know what I mean? Because he's got to get it straight. Tom Brady is a bit like that. There's some bit to be made about Tom Brady having the fire in his eyes this week and being really prepared. And one guy that I don't ever like to bring up on this podcast was like, hey, breaking news, the greatest quarterback of all time is really ready to play this game this week. But I think we're going to see Tom Brady really he's going to do what Tom Brady does. You know what I mean? Like he's going to be, oh, that's the Tom Brady that we brought in here that we expected when we brought in. So I think it's going to be Tom Brady. A couple people in the chat room, they're saying Mike Evans MVP that he wants to go off. Let's see here. We got Winfield coming in. We got Devin White. I'm sure this is Antoine Winfield Jr. Our friend James Money Hill over at Mr. Bucks Nation is saying,
Mr. Bucks Nation, what's up, buddy?
Levante David, John Miles says Brady. There's a Rojo, and let's see here, JPP and Shaq. Well, you can only have one MVP. That's why he's the most. Let's see here, Carlton Davis. There is a deep cut right there. Carlton Davis had a great week last week. Let's see here. Davis needs his interceptions. Let's see here. Buck the World says Ren is going to be the MVP this week.
There we go.
Mark it down in the book. Place a bet at mybookie.ag. Ren is the guy.
They're making fun of my turtleneck, so
they are. I'm not going to. I didn't show that one. Let's see here. They're saying Davis again. All right. They're
says
starting to
Ren
talk
never
again.
ever.
Oh yeah. Here you go. Here, let me put it up. For those of you
Ren.
watching the video, there's Ren, never, ever.
Right.
Is how that goes. That's all right.
Apparently, we have a fashionista.
There you go. I don't know, Ren. You have been called out and invited to the Loose Cannons watch party.
Oh yeah,
but only if you don't wear a shirt.
A hat.
That's the caveat. No, a shirt.
No, I can't
a
wear.
hat.
I can't wear a hat, and then I have to go there and take my shirt off.
Are you gonna do it?
No.
Yes. You only live once, bro. Do it.
Come on, YOLO.
Exactly.
Sure. No, I'm not. Actually,
All right.
we're actually, Cheryl and I are going out to dinner like right after the game. So that was already in the plans. Plus, I just, I don't want to drive all the way to Tampa just to go watch a game with people I can't be near, and then just have somebody insult me all day long. I'm not. No, I don't think so.
Doesn't sound fun.
No, it doesn't sound fun. Yeah. So.
I get that. All right, guys. Well, that is going to do it for us here today on.
Oh, real quick, congratulations, Lightning.
Oh,
Tampa Bay Lightning.
Being in the
Tampa Bay Lightning.
Yeah, being in the Stanley Cup, right?
Yes, sir.
There you
and
go.
the Rowdies and the Rays.
Yeah, Buccaneers coming up. It's Tampa Bay's year, baby. It's Tampa Bay's year. Let's make the sweep. Gene, thanks so much for joining us tonight, man. It's a whole lot of fun anytime we get to talk to you, buddy. Anytime we get to talk to you, it's just great to have you on the podcast. Tell the folks out there where they can find you and get in touch with you and watch the stuff that you're doing out there, which they absolutely should be doing.
Yeah, you can reach me at Buck What You Heard on Twitter. If you do follow, and the one thing I always say, you follow me, I follow you back. I always do. I think it's fun. I've had some really cool interactions this week, especially with the Bucks going through everything they're going through, and it's just been fun. I mean, to me, this has probably been the funnest off season I've experienced in social media ever, to be honest. I mean, just because of all the positive things that are going on. Now, we have to get some wins to go along with all those positive off-season moves. So that's kind of where we are. And, I appreciate you guys having me on. This is a great show. I love the concept. Can't wait to see who you have on next week.
There you go. Neither can I.
You flip a coin. Is this where you guys flip a coin and or make a bet or something like this and decide who you're going to over and under and who you're going to have?
I think it's usually a text message. Hey, who's open?
Yeah.
Who's available?
I'm usually not in that conversation at all.
Right.
It's just like, this is who's coming on. Okay, great. What time?
Hey, Ren, why don't you tell the folks where they can find you out there if they want to get in touch with you about anything you've talked about tonight or want to talk to you during the game?
Yeah, yeah.
Brent on Twitter during the game. Do it, folks.
No. The best place to find me is on Twitter. You can see me in all my pastel turtlenecks that I have at Rendax, REN_DAXT. I'm always down to talk Buccaneers football, but if you don't want to put your take there out in the Twitter's verse, maybe it's too hot, and you just want to go ahead and talk Buccaneers football on the download, just slide in my DMs and we'll talk Buccaneers football with you as well, too. That was a bad outro. That was terrible.
And if you guys want to get,
I was reading the chat.
Got it.
Yeah,
Thank
there you
you.
go.
I was reading the chat.
It didn't go over my head.
Thank you. That was not good.
And if you guys want to get in touch with me, you find me at Brent Allen Live across all the social medias, and the show is at the Pewtercast on Facebook, Twitter, Instagram. You guys make sure you follow us there, and we will be talking to you over there as well. Also, make sure you subscribe to the show on YouTube, getting us up there. We're getting really close to that mark that we've been trying to hit. So you guys go over there. Make sure you hit that bell icon so you never miss when we go live throughout the whole season. Please be sure to join us immediately following the game on Sunday. So it's going to be like 4:30, y'all, not 9, 10 o'clock at night. 4:30. Join us right after the game. The Pewtercast Live. Brent and I will be here to talk about the game, talking about all those raw emotions that we have. Phone lines will be open. You can join the chat and join us just like Gene is joining us right now. You will send out the link. You guys can do that, and we're going to broadcast that out to all the different platforms and everything that we have. So you guys make sure you join us. Send us messages. Check us out at thepewtercast.live out there on the web. And until next time, folks, go Bucks.